everybody, welcome back to video 2. This is hacks and accommodations to make life easier on your dyslexic kid right now.
All right, and with that, I will turn it over to Barbara.
Thanks, Britt. Hey, welcome back everyone, and thanks for watching. So in this video, we're going to talk about helping your struggling reader by using their strengths to help them store and recall words, to quickly improve their reading and spelling, and to help eliminate those letter reversals. So the problem is they aren't seeing and retaining words the way that typical readers do. They work hard for lower test scores and what feels like failure because they're below reading, which carries over into their other subjects like science and history. Now, teachers and good parents always want to see them at the same level as their age group, but they just don't feel like that's possible. I know with my son, he was super brilliant. This is an old picture when he was little, so it's a little bit fuzzy, but we could tell at a young age that he was very good at working with his hands and figuring out like three-dimensional things, how to fit things together to solve problems or to make things work. He was super smart at that. But when it came time for school, he really struggled, and not at first, like when the words were super short, like cat and mom. It was about third grade. This is when the words are getting longer and they're in whole paragraphs. And this is when they no longer are learning to read, but they're reading to learn. And so it became a problem for him. But we knew he was super smart. It's just the words weren't going in and being recalled like they should be. He would have to send out the same word over and over again, even if he just learned it on the page before. And he missed the tiny words a lot, like it and is. We tried everything we could find at the time online and took him into centers, and none of it really helped. They all focused on like drilling phonics and syllable structure, and those helped a little. But he would get sick and nauseous just looking at a book page. And this went on for years until we studied the difference in the dyslexic brain and found some real interventions. So first, we're just going to talk about some hacks to make a difference right away and get their self-confidence up. So first of all, letter reversals can just sometimes be helped with a simple chart taped across the top of their desk. They usually get this in first grade, but not always in the grades after that, and this really does help. It might not always help if they have a visual processing problem, but it usually does help them have some improvement in their letter reversals. I like this one because it has pictures on it and it's kind of cute and fun, and the letters are spread apart good. It usually comes in a pack of 30, and you can just donate the whole pack to the class. They're pretty inexpensive, and that way your child's not the only one with this chart on their desk. But I just search Amazon for alphabet for desk and a bunch of choices pop up. And if they're too old to have this taped to their desk, like if they're in 6th grade, maybe just tape it to the inside of their folder or notebook so that they can refer to it when they need to. But get some duck stickers. These are like 100. You get 100 of them for like $10. And I like the ones to the left here because you can see their eyes. And it's actually proven that the human eye is attracted to other eyes. So people will usually look towards other eyes first on a page or in a scene or even in a room. And so this will catch your child's attention right when he looks at the page. And these ones are super tiny. They're only like about 1/2 inch, and they come back off the page really easy, which is great if you're putting them on a library book and need to pull them back off before you return the book. But what you're going to use these stickers for, you're going to put a sticker on the top left-hand side of each page that they'll be reading or writing or working with. And this does two things. You tell them the belly of the D always points to the same side as the duck, and this immediately helps them distinguish between the lowercase b and d. If it's duh, it points towards the duck side. And it will also help with directionality. So dyslexic readers often have a visual processing problem with what is called directionality, which means their brain takes in the images from right to left. Now, this is a problem with the English language because our language is written from left to right. And the brain usually figures this out after about a year of learning to read. But the dyslexic readers, they've found that some are still taking images in backwards. And this sticker will call their attention to the left side of the page first to start training their brain to take images in left to right. Now, these kids are great at picture memory, so after a while, you don't even need to put the stickers on the page anymore. They'll actually remember that the duck for D is always on that side, and you can stop adding those to pages shortly. Here's another thing we do. You can also put them on letters that they write on, not just letters that they read on, and tell them the same thing. D points to the side that the duck is on. You can also use it to help distinguish Q and P. Q and P look very much alike. You can put a crown for queen on the left-hand side of the page, and sometimes you can even put a duck and a crown on that side, and they always know that it's the Q and the D that points backwards towards the beginning of the page. Now let's talk about spelling. Getting low test scores on their spelling test right before they walk out the door on Friday is super defeating to these kids who have worked so hard all week. And spelling tests are super easy to measure, and so it's really good to help them get some self-confidence by seeing some spelling tests go up in scores. And it helps them walk out of school feeling a little bit better. And it doesn't have to be that they get 100%. Maybe they only got 3 right last time, but they got 4 right this time. Hey, that's cause to celebrate. That's improvement. Put it on a chart so that they can see themselves improving. These kids have a real problem with self-confidence. But first of all, practice spelling using different colored markers. If you want them writing their spelling words, they need to use different colored markers. So what I do, I use one common color for whatever word family they're doing. So for example, in this one, they're working on ing this week. And so you'll use one color to trigger that ing memory in them for all of the ings in their spelling words, and then they can use whatever color they want on the other letters. Here's another tip. Make silent E always one color to help trigger their memory across all of their spelling tests. Like you can always say silent E is black and no other letter is. And that will help trigger that visual memory and help them stop dropping those E's on the end. But if your child's shy about being different from his other classmates, just explain it's not anything to be ashamed of. They can tell their friends that they learn differently and use markers and stickers to learn better. And their classmates might even think it's cool and try it too. I also like to use capital letters because B and D look different when they're capitals, but not so different when they're lowercase b and d. So you can talk to the teacher about the reason why it's important they write in capital letters. And if the teacher understands, they'll usually allow it and be cool with it. But the key here is to help them start to see some success getting things right, because when their self-confidence falls, then they fail because they believe that they will. And of course, same with P and Q, much different as capital letters. And DIS readers struggle with letters that are too similar, like the slight variations of B, D, P, and Q, lowercase, are very hard for them to distinguish when they're reading or writing. Another tip, like I mentioned before, these kids do not retain pictures of two-dimensional squiggly and straight lines of letters and words on a white page very well. Their word form area, also known as the letter box at the back part of their left side of their brain, is responsible for storing a complete picture of the word and recalling it subconsciously. And this is underactive or not active in most of these little cuties. So when we write a word and go, oh, wait a minute, that doesn't look right. I think there's supposed to be an A in it right here. We're doing something most dyslexic readers are not capable of, remembering the picture of how the word looks. And they often remember that maybe it had an A in it, but it gets stuck in the wrong spot. But they do retain pictures of items, things, and surroundings much better. They're also great with objects that have dimension. So you may have already noticed that your child's exceptional at making things out of blocks or Legos or things they build with their hands. Anything where they use their hands to create, and we're going to use that to help them. So they're super brilliant kids. So what I like to do is I like to use some unique items to build their spelling words. This will use their strength of pictures and dimension to help them remember the letters and the order of the letters better. So we just go to the dollar store and buy some cheap items. I put consonant blends like TH, SH, CH on the dinos. I did vowel blends that make one sound on the trophy cups and consonant doubles on the ponies. Notice I painted some white out on them first so that the letters would stand out before I wrote on them. And then I also made the individual consonants out of these Lego-y type things and the vowels on dried marshmallows, just so there was a different tactile feel to them. Notice I made the Y, I made one of them that goes with the consonants, but I also made one of them that goes with the vowels. That way, if the word uses Y like a consonant, such as ya, then they can use the Lego-y thing. And if it's a Y such as a vowel like the I or E sound, then they can use the marshmallow. And this will help them get that whole Y is sometimes a vowel thing. I make new ones as new spelling words come in, sometimes different ones, and then I keep the old ones to reuse them. I also like to make each type of shape have some variation, like the dinosaurs are all different. It's not always possible, so I try and do the ones that are maybe harder to remember on items that have some variation, like the dinos got the digraphs because I found different species of dinos. And I give each sound of the word its own object. These are called phonemes. Dyslexic kids struggle with hearing all of the sounds in a word, and that's why phonics drill does not help well. There's actually been a study shown that phonics helps, but not as well as it should or not as well as it could. I'll show you a quick example. So phonics, practice versus phonemes. Phonics are blends of letters, and sometimes they put them together that make more than one sound, like in the word struck. STR usually goes together in phonics, but it makes 3 distinct sounds, whereas phonemes, each sound gets its own individual object. St, k. It helps them remember every letter and hear every letter in the word better. So we use phonemes. And you don't need to go study these and learn all of them. Basically, there's 44 in the English language, but it's basically just every sound that you hear in a word. Super simple. So in this one, the 2 Z's make one sound, so they're on one item, and the E is silent. So this picture doesn't show it very well, but the E is a different object and from the other vowels, and we have a strike right through the E, and this helps them remember the silent E on the end. It's like no other vowel we have. And here's another example, railway. It uses quite a few letters, but only 5 sounds, so it will use 5 objects. This one uses 3 sounds with a silent E on the end. And this is a 5-letter word with only 3 phonemes or sounds in it. And then, I thought I was on the other slide here, but so this one also uses 3 sounds, but then it has an ing added to the end. Now, ing and ang, they're considered 2 phonemes each, the E sound of the I and then the ng sound of the ng. But my kids did fine with the ing and the angs together just on one object. They caught on to that okay, but it's your kid, so do it how you want. Now it's time we're going to talk about the importance of bringing the information in, using more of the senses than just hearing or sight. Dyslexic kids have some struggles in visual processing and auditory processing. And so we want them to use other senses to bring information in, like their sense of touch and rhythm and muscle memory. So the word building that I already showed you is multisensory. For example, they may remember the feel of the marshmallow and the texture of the dinosaur and make connections that way. Building words with their hands is super powerful. I want to show you an example of another way to help where they actually say the word out loud.
S-I-G-H, sigh.
Good job. When you do a H, be sure to start at the top. Okay, so that was my daughter Lydia. So she traces it with her finger while she says it out loud, and that helps her get kind of a multisensory input of that. And they can do that over and over again several times, and it will help them remember it better. And here's another example. This is actually Orton Gillingham came up with this one, where they tap their shoulder for each letter, and then when they go to spell it in their spelling test and they tap it out on their arm, they might say, oh, wait a minute, that didn't feel right. The muscle memory isn't right. I'm missing a letter here, and then they might remember a silent letter. So let me show you that one.
S-I-G-H, sigh.
Good job. Okay, so you can also get some washable paints and let them write their spelling words and even draw a little picture of each one and then smooth it over and do the next one. And they're using objects and different senses than just hearing and seeing here. And so they can take it in and retain it better. And all of these ideas work great with practicing just sight words too. Now, this is one reason we say use washable paints. They tend to have a ton of fun with it after they're finished practicing. This one isn't my favorite, but it's their favorite. They love it. You can also color up some sand or some salt and keep it on a tray in your pantry. and just pull it out and let them write their spelling or sight words in that. And that way they're taking it in multi-sensory too. That's a really fun one they love to do. So thanks so much for coming, and make sure to follow us on Facebook and Pinterest. Share it if you know anyone that this could help that has kids with reading struggles. And in the next video, we are going to go into some simple at-home exercises to help stimulate the parts of the left side of the brain that are responsible for automatic word recall and fluent reading. So good luck, and we'll have that out to you as soon as we can.